Hi everyone, and welcome to our next tutorial in Photoshop. What we're going to do is take a photo like this one here on the left, and we're going to use typography to try and create an effect like this here. So let's get started doing this project. So first thing we're going to do is open up Photoshop, and we are going to bring in a photo. Now, ideally, we want a photo with good facial features. We want to be able to see the contrast between the eyes and the cheeks. So this is a pretty good photo to use. I'm going to use this one here. Now, I want to make this a file that I can edit. Right now, when you up here, you can see that it says background. If I double click on this here and click OK, it changes it to a layer that I can edit. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to call this original so I can keep all of my layers straight, because I'm going to have a number of different layers. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this to black and white. It's going to show me the contrast. Now when I do that, I get this window here. I'm going to change my contrast here so I can see the different contrast that I could get. What I want to see is I want to see lots of darks and lots of lights. So I'm actually going to change the intensity of these colors, even though it is black and white. And I'm going to play around with these till I get some good contrast. In other words, lots of lights and lots of darks. So you can play around with that till you get that right. This is looking pretty good. Just going to try my contrast here again and just try to get this right. I'm looking at her eye. It's almost hidden, and I'm just trying to get enough contrast there so I can see that eye. Just going to change this here. So that looks good. I'm going to click on OK. So there, now I've got this black and white photo. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to click on this here. I'm going to right click and duplicate layer. And what I'm going to do is I want to try and get just the shadows selected here. So in order to get just the shadows, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click over here on the side here, and you're going to see this tool, or the quick selection tool. This is the magic wand tool. I'm going to click on that tool. And then down the bottom here we have the quick selection tool, we've got the selection brush tool, and I've got the magic wand tool. You want to make sure you have the magic wand tool selected. Next thing is we want to make sure that this is not selected, this is not selected, but this anti-aliasing is selected. We want to make sure that's on, and our tolerance here is around 20. Make sure that this is selected as new. And then with the magic wand, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and select the darkest area here. So I'm going to select here. And you see what happens here is it selected all of the really dark areas. We're going to call that the shadows. So once I've got that selected, I'm going to go refine edge. And it gives me this here. In other words, it gives me really all the darks from the image. And then what I'm going to do is down at the bottom here, I'm going to select outputs to a new layer. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to click on OK. So now if I hide the original and hide the copy, then here is what I end up with. Now these squares in the back here mean that is a transparent background. So this is all I have, is the shadows and the transparent background. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make that not visible. I'm going to go back to my copy here. So select on that layer, and I'm going to use the magic wand again. And what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and get a few more of the tones. In other words, I'm going to get what I call the midtones. So make sure that these are all selected like this. Make sure the tolerance is up. So I'm going to go up to around 50 this time. I'm going to see if that's about the right level. And I'm going to select over here. And you can see that this time we ended up with more selected here. So we've got this selected here, got some of this selected down here, and I'm going to go refine edge. So now you can see we ended up with more selected. I'm going to call these our midtones. And so make sure that these are all set. This is to 0, this is to 0, this is 0, this is 0 here. And I'm going to go output to new layer. I'm going to create another layer from this. And again, you can see that we have transparency in the background, but we did keep our midtones here. So now we've got those two layers. We have this layer here, which we said is our midtone. So actually, I'm going to rename this here. Double click on that. I'm going to call this midtones. And then if I just make that not visible, make this visible. This was more my shadows. So I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to type in shadows. And so there. Now we have those two layers, and we have our original layers as well. In the next part, what we'll do is we are going to go and get some text. So that'll be the second part of our video. So click on that when you are ready.